and welcome to Hatching for Health with your host, Jessica Hatch. Also, welcome to 2021. This is our first episode of the new year, so we're really excited to have you tuning in and excited to be back on air. We are going to have a mother join us tonight who has two boys, and one of them does have autism. And so, although this is a more common disorder, we're going to talk specific to her son's disorder with it because he additionally has a disease that we learned about last week known as Laryngomalacia. So thank you so much for joining us, Tarah. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thanks for telling your story and just being willing to be vulnerable and talk to us a little bit about your two sons. So you have Jace as well as Benjamin, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so tell us a little about their ages and when each of them was diagnosed, as well as with autism.
Jace was diagnosed with laryngomalacia at about a month old and had airway surgery at 6 weeks old, and Benjamin was diagnosed a little over a month old with laryngomalacia.
Okay, and so Jace is the one that also has autism. Now, when did that become something that was apparent to you guys and also diagnosed?
So we went to the neurologist for Jace because we thought he was having seizures, and apparently that's common with LM. So we wanted to rule that out. When we went, he had a sedated MRI that showed low muscle tone, but nothing related to the seizures. So they had us go to physical therapy for the low tone, and she started noticing sensory issues, and she referred us to an occupational therapist when Jace was under a year old, and she started saying sensory processing disorder, which is on the autism spectrum. And as the years went on, it went from sensory processing disorder to autism spectrum disorder.
I see. So some children actually it stops at the sensory disorder, and then others it actually goes as far as saying, okay, you in fact do have autism?
It depends. Based on what I've seen, I've been told not every child with sensory processing disorder has autism, but a lot of children, or most children who have autism, also have sensory processing issues.
Okay. And when you say sensory processing issues, I mean, it seems self-explanatory, but I guess what exactly was she claiming when stating that about him?
Jace has a hard time touching certain textures, eating certain textures. Sometimes lights are too bright. It's just the way he processes things,
Okay.
like with his senses.
Interesting. So it's specific to our five senses, basically. It sounds like you kind of
Right.
touched on most categories. Okay. And so she was able to identify that all of these areas of sensories, it's more, heightened for him versus for someone else. And so that was
Right.
kind of the first area where she's like, okay, this in some cases can be a sign leading towards autism. And in his case, so how long was it after that then she was, moved forward to say, okay, this is autism as well?
So we ended up moving from Jacksonville to Pensacola, and Jace didn't progress much with his speech, and his issues with his sensory, like eating and clothing, were progressively getting worse. And we saw an occupational therapist out here and a developmental pediatrician as well. And they referred us out to be diagnosed, or referred him to be diagnosed with autism in September. So it went from about when he was a little under a year old to around the time he was about 3, a little older than 3.
Okay, before that. And with autism, I know there's a lot of different forms of it. So what's special about how I guess he's treated and what you have to change within your lifestyles to accommodate his condition?
As far as autism, we've had to change a lot. You go into being a parent and you think, oh, you're going to do things a certain way, and then that kid comes in and it completely rocks your world.
Yeah.
We had ideas of how we wanted to parent and how we wanted to feed the kids and everything, but that changed with Jace. Jace does not like mess. He doesn't like sticky textures, so our meals have changed a lot. Plus, our schedules have had to be more flexible and change a lot because Jace has 5 therapies a week
Oh,
on top
goodness.
of school as well.
Really? When you say
Yes.
5 therapies, is that the same therapist that he's going to, or completely different therapy sessions?
Completely different therapy. Jace is in occupational therapy, feeding therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and he'll be starting ABA soon on top of virtual learning.
Oh my goodness. And he's how old is he again?
3.5. He's in preschool age.
Wow. He's really got his plate full. That's
He's a full-time job.
yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, he's the child doing all of that, and then you guys as the parents coordinating. Are these right now with COVID? Are these visits in person, or most of them virtual, or how are these taking place?
Most of them are virtual, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful that the school offered a virtual option for him
Of
because
course,
we
yeah.
didn't want him to miss out on the opportunity. But with him having Laryngomalacia, it makes him a very high risk when it comes to COVID. So once they had the virtual learning for even as young as preschool, I was incredibly thankful that Jace didn't lose out on that opportunity. Also, his therapies have all been virtual except for feeding therapy and physical therapy. But we go up to the hospital and they're very strict on where you go and how things are sanitized. And
Of course.
they all know about Jace and they're incredibly careful.
Oh, that's so sweet. So with all of these different, I guess, visits that are done virtual, prior to COVID though, were each and every one of those time that y'all are taking to drive him there, have that visit with a
Yes.
therapist, drive him back home? Okay, so they were all in person before COVID.
Yes.
Okay, that's a lot. And so is it like pre-K or what is he? Or
He's
I
in
guess-
pre-K.
Okay, in pre-K. And so is that also something y'all are doing online with him as well right now?
Yes, we are doing virtual preschool, and his teacher has been a godsend. She has helped with absolutely everything when it comes to Jay. She'll give me pointers. She's made little interactive books and stuff for him. She's made little cards that he can hold up if he can't quite get the word out that he wants to get out. So she has helped his speech and just his overall behavior immensely.
I bet. Are your kids? I'm just curious. Are they home right now? Or are they with their father, or where are they right now?
They're home in the next room with their dad.
Okay. We would have loved to even have them pop on. I don't know if Avery mentioned that to you, our guest coordinator, but
I can see if they will.
yeah, it's always great to to have them. Maybe when we take a commercial break, you could grab them,
Okay.
so we can meet them as well. I think for a lot of parents, though, understanding that if autism is something that their child gets diagnosed with, it's cumbersome as it relates to all of the different visits and everything that you have to, you really have to do to put the effort in to make sure that child is going to have, a wonderful life moving forward. Because just to imagine all those different therapies without them being done, how it would technically stunt that, child from really growing into who they could become. So kudos to you as parents, for
Thank you.
learning everything needed and actually putting it into action. That's a lot for a little 3.5-year-old.
It
So
is.
how does the brother, handle all that? In some ways it's, it's looked at as attention, right? It's like, oh, he gets to do this with y'all. You've got to take him here, or, is there any concerns there between the brothers, just as far as like, the needs of one versus the other?
I thought so at first, but my husband and I kind of juggle it where we just see it as one-on-one time.
Mhm.
And since I take Jace very often, we make it to where that's Jace calls me Lolly. Jason Lolly time, and then Bam and Daddy time. And then I'll take Benjamin to the store with me sometimes, or I'll put on a movie for Jace and spend some one-on-one time with Benjamin because I don't want either of my children to feel left out. And I don't want to center things around Jace's autism if they don't have to be, because a lot of the times it is that way, where we go to eat, what we go do, who we go see, all types of stuff. It just has to be a planned out ordeal.
Yeah, no, I bet it is. And this, I know we touched on insurance and what's covered with, with the other disorder, Laryngomalacia, but with autism, I feel like it maybe is even more common of a category. Is this also something that you guys' TRICARE covers, or do you find yourself ever having to pay out of pocket?
We do. We pay a lot of copays until we hit our catastrophic cap, is what they call it. I think it's $1,000 or $1,500. And you pay every copay, and it's $34 up until then. And then there's a special part of TRICARE called ECHO that covers extra things that the child might need, like ABA therapy. You have to have an official autism diagnosis, and then you go into the ECHO program, and then you get the ABA therapy.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. That is great to know that they're able to, cover as much as they are, but I'm sure it still makes things difficult with the over and over copays. We do have to go to a commercial break, but we would love to have your kids join you when we come back from it. So we will be right back with you after this commercial break. Hi, I'm Jessica Hatch, the host of Hatching for Health. We are a show that was brought about to create awareness for children with rare diseases, disabilities, and disorders with hopes of finding cures. We're looking for doctors that would like to participate in being on our episodes and possibly even bring their own patients on the show to talk about how they have helped cure them, whether it's been surgically or through medication or any sorts of ways. We think that it's very inspiring for others to learn these stories and to possibly help somebody else. So I encourage you to reach out if you are a doctor who is interested in being on the show and allowing us to highlight not only you, but the work that you've done for a child. You can reach out by emailing at info@hatchingforhealth.org. That's info@hatchingforhealth.org, and we look forward to hearing from you. How would you like to see your commercial on the Hatching for Health episode each and every Tuesday evening? If that's you, please email me at info@hatchingforhealth.org, and we can tell you about all the fabulous ways to see your commercial on our episodes. And don't forget, we're a 501c, so any contribution is 100% tax deductible. We look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back from the break. In case you're just tuning in, we're talking about autism, and we are joined by Tarah, and we're having her little boys join us just for a moment so we can get introduced to them. So Tarah, are you there?
I am. Hi.
Hi. Okay, so you've got your little one there, Benjamin, and Jace.
Yep, this is Benjamin.
Okay, what a cutie. You do have your hands full, don't you? Hey guys.
I do. Can you say hi?
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Not hi.
No. Bye-bye.
Okay.
I know you've got your hands full, but it was great. We wanted just to at least get a chance to meet them. And like most of these disorders out there, your children, both handsome little boys, and you would never know by looking at them anything's wrong. And that's a lot of what these disorders are. They're conditions that are, whether it's with their mind or internally, and they're things that sometimes it's really hard to diagnose, even as a doctor. So luckily, these conditions have both been diagnosed for you. Bye.
You say bye-bye?
And you guys are able to...
Bye-bye.
Bye. Nice to meet you. And you're able to properly treat them, which is part of the battle, right? A lot of people are just searching for answers. So I think for anybody tuning in that's, able to connect with you as a mother and has questions, I do encourage them to do so. And I know with the website we talked about in last week's episode, there was an organization that you had joined forces with and created quite a community. With autism, is that something that you've also been able to connect with other parents, just kind of as a support system to learn from each other?
I have. I've made quite a few friends of parents who have children with autism in Pensacola and in the Houston area, and then just kind of slowly branching out on Facebook. I haven't quite joined a support group yet.
Okay. So Houston, that's great. So you got some fellow friends here in Houston. That's good to know.
I do.
Yeah. So you're Pensacola, Florida. So even there, I mean, for any friends and family that you have that are able to tune in, I think that'll be great because you just never know who they know. Because a lot of our relationships are, kind of just as far as Houston. So it's great to have another state or someone from another state come on the Hatching for Health show and also tell their story. Is there any advice that you have for parents that, not only have you had a child diagnosed with one disorder, but two, with one child. So I think that's not as common as, one might think. So just kind of any advice that you could give to other parents battling with one or two disorders being diagnosed.
The best advice I can give is you need to take care of yourself. I know it's hard and you really have to juggle the time, but taking care of yourself is important because you can't take care of your children until you take care of yourself. Another one would be find your village and stick with them. They will help you through the worst times of your life because it does get very dark and scary and sad. And if you don't have that support to rely on, you will fall into that, and that could be really bad for you and your children.
Yeah, I think that's both pieces of great advice. It's just with anything when you are trying to help others. If you haven't first made sure that you're good and taken care of, it's gonna you might be able to help, but the type of help won't come from as good of a place as it would if you are nurturing and doing what you need. And then these groups,
Right.
I just think it's so amazing. And I hear the word village a lot, and it just goes to show how widespread these groups become. You think about like a neighborhood of parents gathering together, but the limits are really endless. With different cities jumping on to different states. I'm sure you probably communicate with people all over the country as it relates to the previous disorder we discussed last week. Is that safe to say?
All over the world, actually. We have families that are in the Philippines, Australia, Mexico,
Wow.
everywhere. I remember one that was in Ireland. It's all over the world that these parents find coping with LM and they reach out to us for support and finding doctors in their area, more information to give to doctors, the care package program, and it's just been super awesome to have all those friendships everywhere.
Yeah, I believe it. And I encourage you guys, if there's like any that come across, in Houston, that they have not been sorted with as far as it relates to a doctor, whether it's ENT, pulmonology, or neurology, kind of a slew of them. I'd
Right.
love for Hatching for Health to kind of help be a resource and kind of putting some of those, those dots together for you guys as well. So definitely keep us in mind on how we can help. And with the care packages too, I think that's so unique. I think that, just the way that was put together, and then even having like the mascot. And for those that didn't watch last week's episode, maybe share a little bit about that organization as well that you're, now such a big part of.
My son Jace was diagnosed with Laryngomalacia. It's an airway disorder at about a month old. And I was asking around in a mom group, had anybody dealt with these sort of feeding issues, or did their kid make these kinds of sounds? And someone directed me to the caregiver support group on Facebook, and I found my village, I found my people. I got involved in the nonprofit organization first as Stephanie's assistant and worked my way up, and I'm now on the board, and I help make decisions and brainstorm, and it's just been super helpful. I remember getting my care package from Coping with LM when Jace was having surgery, and it was a huge game changer for me.
Good for you. Oh, so you're actually on the board.
I am. Yeah.
And tell me the website for that.
It's copingwithlm.org.
Okay. And so that's COPING, coping with, and then LM standing for Laryngomalacia, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
It's .org. Okay. And so people can go on the website and what will they find there in navigating through? Is there different forms to fill out for volunteering, or what all is there?
There's Stephanie's email, and I believe my email as well, to reach out to do volunteering. There is the care package program. There's a way to just donate directly. There's more about laryngomalacia. There's finding an ENT. A lot of parents come in the caregiver support group and they ask, what should I ask my ENT? What should I ask my pulmonologist? And we got a list of the doctors and procedures together, and we asked all of our parents who deal with these doctors and procedures and tests, what if you could go back, what would you ask? What would you want someone else to know? And we consolidated that into a list and we put it on our website so it can help new parents write down on their phone what to ask. Yeah, it was a very great resource.
Wonderful. I'm going to have to pull that up and just, kind of post it in next week's episode. As people are kind of creating dialogue usually during the episode and wanting to, ask questions, because y'all have done a lot of the homework, and, a lot of it, just sits in the parents' minds as to what they've been able to produce, through their own research, but to actually just, compile it and say, here you go, makes a lot of people's life a lot easier. So that's great that you guys have gone that far with it. So we do need to wrap up the episode, but, I know I had asked about like any advice you could give, and we always appreciate that. And again, if there's anything Hatching for Health can additionally do just to help you guys, I think between this week's episode and last week, these videos will be available on social media forever. So if you guys guide anyone to them, they'll also get a great explanation of exactly what this is and the options that you guys took when surgical procedures are needed, and just kind of learning as parents, like what you guys have struggled with, and and the overcoming things as well. So again, I appreciate the vulnerability and for taking the time out of your evening again with us, and getting to to meet your boys. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And thank you all, you Hatching for Health fans, for tuning in to another episode. And we will be right back here next week at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday.